After the age of 65, life begins to feel very different. You've lived through decades of experiences, collected wisdom that younger people might not even imagine, and learned lessons that only time can teach. And here's something most seniors quietly discover. Peace of mind becomes more valuable than being right. And not every truth needs to be spoken out loud. Think about it. How many times have you shared something personal with family, expecting them to understand, only to be met with judgment, confusion, or advice you never asked for? It's frustrating, isn't it? What you meant as honesty sometimes turns into misunderstanding, or even tension that lingers long after the conversation ends. The older we get, the more we realize that harmony is worth protecting. Our words carry weight, especially in the eyes of our children and relatives. Sometimes a single remark can change the atmosphere of an entire dinner table. That's why at this stage of life, wisdom isn't just about what you say. It's also about what you choose not to say. And no, this isn't about keeping secrets or being mysterious. It's about dignity. It's about guarding your emotional peace, because you've earned the right to live on your terms without explaining every decision to others. Doesn't that sound freeing? Before I go on, let me quickly say this. If you're already finding this conversation valuable, I'd love for you to hit subscribe right now and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss the practical wisdom, stories, and tips I share to help make your senior years calmer, lighter, and more joyful. Now here's where it gets interesting. In this video, I'm going to share 5 things you should never reveal too openly after 65 if you want to avoid unnecessary drama and protect your peace. Some of these might surprise you, because they sound harmless at first. But once you hear the reasons, you'll understand exactly why silence in the right moments can be your best friend. Let's begin with the very first one. And trust me, this one has broken more families than you'd think. The first thing you should avoid sharing too openly after 65 is the full details of your financial situation. Now, you might be thinking, but I've got nothing to hide. That's true. Yet money has a strange way of changing the way people act, even in the closest families. Picture this. You casually tell your daughter or son that you're comfortable with your savings, and suddenly they expect financial help in ways you never planned for. Or maybe you mention it to one family member, and before long, whispers spread. Suddenly, at the next gathering, people are quietly judging, wondering why you aren't spending more or why you're being too careful. See how quickly transparency can turn into pressure? It doesn't always come from greed. Often it's just misunderstanding. Younger family members may not realize that retirement savings are supposed to last for decades. They see numbers, not the reality of medical bills, inflation, or the cost of long-term care. They think you're set for life when in truth, careful planning is the only thing keeping your security intact. And here's the other danger: comparisons. If one sibling feels you've given more financial help to another, quiet bitterness can grow. Old rivalries you thought were long gone can resurface just because of money talk. That's why protecting your financial privacy isn't selfish. It's wise. It's not about refusing to help. It's about setting boundaries. Instead of sharing exact numbers, you can simply say, I'm managing carefully, or I have to think long-term. That way, you keep control of the conversation without opening the door to interference. And remember, your peace is priceless. You didn't spend a lifetime working, saving, and planning just to let family tensions steal your calm now. The less people know about your bank account, the more they see you as a parent, a grandparent, a loved one, not as a financial resource. That's the kind of respect you deserve. And don't worry, this is just the beginning. The next point might actually surprise you even more because it has nothing to do with money, but it can cause just as much drama if you share it too freely. So stay with me until the end. And before we move on, make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. These small reminders may sound simple, but they can transform the way your later years feel. Less conflict, more freedom, and a lot more peace of mind. The second thing you should keep to yourself after 65 is the complete details of your health problems. Now, don't misunderstand. This doesn't mean you should hide serious medical conditions from the people who need to know. If something is important for your safety, of course you should share it. But there's a huge difference between giving your loved ones the essentials and talking about every single ache, pain, or symptom in detail with the entire family. Why? Because constantly discussing your health can actually change the way people see you. Instead of engaging with you as the strong, wise person you truly are. They might start viewing you as fragile or burdensome. And once that shift happens, it can quietly affect your confidence and independence. Have you ever noticed it? You mention a small issue like feeling extra tired, and suddenly a loved one is calling every single day to check on you. At first it feels thoughtful, but before long, it starts to feel suffocating. Or maybe you've had relatives bombard you with home remedies, articles, or doctor recommendations, even when you didn't ask for them. Their intentions may be good, but soon your entire relationship feels centered on your health instead of your wisdom, your laughter, or your stories. And here's where it gets trickier. Family news spreads fast. You tell one person something small, and before you know it, relatives from across the country are calling with worried voices, treating you like something major has happened. Suddenly, people are questioning whether you should live alone, whether you should travel, or whether you can still manage your own affairs. All this just because you mentioned a few minor aches. There's also the hidden danger of how it shapes your own identity. When you talk about health problems all the time, you and everyone around you start focusing on them more. You stop being seen as active, capable, and independent, and you start being seen as someone who always needs help. That can be frustrating, especially when you know you're still capable and want to live fully on your own terms. Of course, always tell your doctor everything, and share important health updates with the few people who truly need to know. But the small things, the everyday discomforts, they don't always need to be broadcast to everyone. By keeping those private, or sharing only with someone you deeply trust, you protect both your dignity and the way your family perceives you. Remember, your later years should be about joy, connection, and experience, not endless health updates. The less unnecessary worry you create, the more your family can enjoy you for who you are, not just for how you're feeling on any given day. And before I move to the third point, let me pause here. If this message resonates with you, take a quick second to subscribe. It's such a simple way to make sure you never miss future videos where we talk about real-life wisdom like this. Tips that can genuinely protect your peace and happiness after 65. Now, the third thing you should avoid sharing too openly after 65 is every detail of your past mistakes. Here's the truth. Every single one of us has chapters in our life we're not proud of. Wrong turns, missed chances, choices we wish we could redo. That's part of being human. But here's the catch. Just because you've made peace with those moments doesn't mean your family will. In fact, oversharing your mistakes can sometimes do more harm than good. Imagine you tell your children about a bad investment from years ago. To you, it's just a memory. But to them, it might create doubt. Suddenly, they start questioning your financial decisions even today. Or maybe you open up about a relationship regret. And now they quietly wonder if you've always had poor judgment. Even though you've grown and learned, those old mistakes can leave an image in their minds that's hard to shake. And sometimes, revealing too much from your past can even create distance. For example, if you share a big decision you made before your kids were born, they might feel shocked, confused, or even hurt. Children often like to see their parents or grandparents as steady, unshakable figures. Too much honesty about certain mistakes can unsettle that image. And once it's changed, it rarely goes back. Another risk? Family gossip. You confide in one person, and before long, everyone knows. And each person adds their own twist. What started as a personal reflection becomes a story passed around the table, and not always in the kindest light. That's why it's far better to share the lesson, not the full story. Instead of saying, I trusted the wrong person and lost all my savings, you could simply say, I learned that not everyone who promises something has good intentions. The wisdom still gets passed down, but your dignity and privacy remain intact. At this stage in life, you don't need to reopen old wounds or defend your past. You've already lived it, survived it, and come out stronger. Some memories are best left as private reflections, because not every chapter belongs in the family's open book. And trust me, the next point might hit even closer to home, because it deals with something we all feel, but rarely admit out loud. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you're subscribed, because what I'm about to share could save you from misunderstandings you never saw coming. Before we move on to the next point, let me just pause here. If these insights are opening your eyes and making you think differently about how to protect your peace after 65, go ahead and subscribe to this channel right now. Don't forget to tap the notification bell, Because every video I share is designed to help you live calmer, happier, and freer in your golden years. Now let's continue with the next thing you should never share too openly with your family. The fourth thing you should be careful about sharing after 65 is your private opinions about certain family members. Let's be honest, we all have thoughts about the people closest to us. Over the years, you've watched family members make mistakes, choose paths you may or may not agree with. It's natural to have opinions about their lifestyle, their marriage, their parenting, or even their financial decisions. But here's the hard truth. Speaking those opinions out loud can create storms you never intended. Family dynamics are fragile. What feels like a small, passing comment to you can easily be repeated, exaggerated, or misunderstood by someone else. And once those words are out there, you can't pull them back. A remark meant as concern can come back to you as criticism. A private thought shared in confidence can become the seed of a lasting grudge. And remember, people don't always hear your intention. You might think you're giving advice out of love, but the other person may feel judged or unsupported. Imagine telling your daughter you're worried about her marriage. You mean it as care. She hears it as interference. Or telling a sibling you don't trust their spouse. Suddenly you're in the middle of a family conflict you never asked for. There's another risk too. Once you openly speak against one family member, others may start wondering, what does she say about me when I'm not around? That thought alone can weaken trust and make people guard themselves in your presence. And at this stage in life, you don't need more walls between you and your loved ones. You need openness, respect, and peace. Of course, there are exceptions. If someone's safety is truly at risk, if there's harm involved, then yes, you should speak up. But in most cases, silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. You can hold your private opinions in your heart without letting them escape into conversations that cause tension. Sometimes, kindness is found in what you choose not to say. Because here's the reality. People rarely change just because someone points out their flaws. They change when they're ready. And risking your peace over something you can't control, that's simply not worth it. So remember, your words carry weight. And sometimes the heaviest wisdom is found in silence. Before we get to the final point, let me remind you, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. These are the kinds of real-life insights that can make your senior years so much lighter and freer. And I'd love for you to stay connected with every video. Now let's talk about the fifth thing you should avoid sharing too openly after 65. Your future plans in full detail. Here's why this one matters. By now you probably got some dreams, goals, or personal projects for yourself. Maybe you're thinking of moving somewhere quieter, downsizing your home, taking that big trip you've always wanted, or even making changes to your will. These are deeply personal decisions. But if you reveal them too early, before they're final, you may unintentionally invite opinions, debates, or even pressure to change your mind. And let's be honest, those opinions often have more to do with other people's comfort than your own. You might mention downsizing your house, and suddenly a relative protests because they have too many memories tied to it. Or you say you'd love to travel alone, and someone insists it's unsafe. Their intentions may be good, but their reactions can plant seeds of doubt in your heart, making you second-guess a decision you were once excited about. There's another layer too. Once people know your plans, they often start adjusting their own expectations around them. If you talk about finances, they may start wondering how that affects them. If you mention changes to your will, tension can quietly creep in. And if you later change your mind, suddenly you're explaining yourself over and over again, defending choices that are deeply personal. Sometimes, sharing too soon even invites comparisons. People might tell you what they would do in your situation, or bring up what another person your age is doing, as if there's a checklist for how to live after 65. But this is your life. You've earned the right to design it your way. That's why it's often wiser to keep future plans private until you're sure. Finalize them in your own heart first, then share them as completed decisions instead of half-formed ideas. That way, there's no back and forth, no debates, just clarity. At this age, your time and energy are precious. The fewer outside voices weighing in, the more peace you'll feel. After all, not every dream needs a family discussion. Sometimes the sweetest joy is simply in surprising others with the life you've already chosen for yourself. And that brings us to the end of this list. But really, It's just the beginning of protecting your peace. As you can see, keeping certain things to yourself after 65 isn't about shutting your family out. It's about protecting your peace, your dignity, and your independence. These years of your life should be calm, fulfilling, and joyful, not weighed down by drama, arguments, or misunderstandings. By being thoughtful about what you share, whether it's your finances, your health, your past mistakes, your private opinions, or your future plans, you set boundaries that keep relationships healthy, respectful, and full of love. Always remember, not every truth needs to be spoken. Some thoughts are better kept private or shared only with those you trust completely. By doing this, you give yourself the freedom to focus on what truly matters: joy, connection, new experiences, and the people who lift your spirit, instead of carrying the burden of avoidable conflicts. Silence, when used wisely, isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And if these insights spoke to you, if they made you think about your own family dynamics a little differently, then take a second right now to subscribe and tap the notification bell. Every week, I share practical wisdom, inspiring stories, and simple steps to help you live a calmer, happier life after 60. Don't miss out. Your future self will thank you for choosing peace today.